Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Right now at 5, coronavirus cases are surging across the country once again, and health officials fear hundreds more in our community could lose their lives. But there are hundreds of other deaths, and COVID-19 isn't the only cause. Why health officials say they're perplexed.
Governor Gavin Newsom asked a judge to hold off on a decision that would limit his executive power, as the decision was set to be finalized later today.
10 days since Election Day, NBC calls Arizona for Joe Biden, adding to pressure to get classified intelligence briefings to the president-elect. Congressman Kevin McCarthy weighs in on when that could happen. This is Friday, November 13th, 2020. Good morning. It's 5 a.m. Good to have you with us. I'm Maddie Jansen here alongside Alex Fisher. Not a bad morning out there. I did notice yesterday that there was still some frost hanging around in the morning in the mountain communities, but the day was much more palatable, I guess you could say.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bite in the air this morning, but it does warm up a little bit in the afternoon. And we have a warm up on the way in just a couple of days. Let's turn things over to Kevin Charette, who is looking at our forecast on this. Finally, Friday, we're headed into the weekend, Kev.
Yeah, it's definitely been a little bit warmer. The thing we'll watch for today are some winds to pick up around Kern County. Right now, though, we've got temperatures in the 40s to start, 43 degrees in Bakersfield at this time. We've got a light wind out of the east-northeast at 5 miles per hour. As we take a look at the day here and the temperatures, expecting mid-60s once again. And then for the mountains, 25 degrees right now, so it's definitely a chilly start. No winds right now, but that will change as we progress into the afternoon. I want to show you the wind forecast here. This is right around 5 o'clock tonight. Do expect a light breeze to pick up in the valley, stronger winds into the mountains and out in the desert. And this will continue into the late night hours and into our early Saturday before we start to see some relief in that. So with that, we are going to issue a wind advisory for the Kern County mountains through Frazier Park to Hatchby and into the Kern River Valley and east out in the desert. And we could be looking at those westerly winds here, 25 to 35, gusting right near 50. As we take a look at the hour-by-hour forecast up in the mountains today, you can see starting out into those 30s by 7 a.m. and then this afternoon expecting the 50s. I'll have much more in your pinpoint forecast. That's coming up in just a bit.
All right, Kev, thanks so much. This morning we begin with the surge in coronavirus cases in Kern County. Public health officials reported another 251 cases and one new death yesterday. Those new cases brings our total to more than 36,000 people who have been infected with this virus since March. We've lost 430 lives to this virus. More than 9,000 people recovering at home, according to our local health officials. 59 people are in the hospital with more severe symptoms. And it has been a grim year for Kern County as the coronavirus claims the lives of hundreds in our community. There's no sugarcoating the situation. Our community has felt the pain. There will be more than 400 empty seats at the table this Thanksgiving because of coronavirus, and sadly, probably more. And projections show there will be even more by Christmas. I've been looking at the total number of deaths in the county this year. In addition to the lives lost due to coronavirus, I found a high number of deaths this year with no explanation for the increase.
The clock struck midnight on January 1st to signal the beginning of a new year. Little did we know it could easily become Kern's deadliest. There are 847 more deaths today than this time last year. Blame coronavirus for more than half of those. But for the other half, there's no explanation for the increase.
It is above what we would expect to find normally.
Our local health department keeps track of all deaths in the county. We've requested the total number for the past 5 years and looked for trends. There are ebbs and flows throughout the 12 months. Year after year, more people die in the winter than summer. Local health officials say it's because of the flu and other respiratory illnesses. This year was no different at first. But as soon as coronavirus made an unwelcome introduction into our community, the trends changed.
Probably the biggest thing that stands out is how severely we can be affected and how quickly.
The virus has its grip on the county as it steals the lives of hundreds of our loved ones. More than 400 people dead in a matter of months.
If you look at prior to COVID-19 being introduced into our community, people weren't dying of COVID-19.
The increase in deaths became noticeable in May, but the overwhelming spike came in June, July, and August. Prior to this year, our deadliest July over the past 5 years was in 2018, when 505 people died. This year, 738 people died. 124 of those were coronavirus-related deaths.
There is a very real risk of severe illness and death that we can clearly see in the numbers and the number of people who have died due to COVID. Because if COVID-19 weren't here, the basic assumption is all of those people would still be alive.
But there's an alarming number of excess deaths, and coronavirus is not a factor. Our health officials say they're still trying to understand why.
The COVID-19 pandemic has affected all of us in many different ways, and that, can reflect in our health. It is a little bit more difficult to explain some of the other deaths because their cause of death is not COVID.
Although many questions remain on why there's hundreds of unexplained deaths, one thing is clear. The spike and decline in total lives lost is congruent to the spike and decline in coronavirus cases.
The question is, does it go on the cause of death? If this person had not had a COVID-19 infection, would they still be alive? And so that's sort of the general question that normally happens, when healthcare providers are determining a cause of death.
On this week's edition of Kern County in Depth, I joined 17's Jim Scott to talk more about this increase in total deaths. You can watch that tomorrow night at 6 p.m. here on TV 17.
And as California surpasses 1 million infections, Governor Gavin Newsom's asking a judge to hold off on a decision that would limit his executive power. The Sutter County judge preliminarily decided to limit the governor's executive power in the coronavirus-related state of emergency. This decision was set to be finalized today, but on behalf of the governor, Attorney General Javier Becerra filed a motion requesting she hold off on finalizing that decision for at least 2 weeks. Some legislators not happy with the move.
The judge sided with us. So for the governor to now say that he needs to delay this by 2 weeks or for multiple weeks, I think that is unnecessary and it should go into effect immediately.
Kylie says he's confident the judge will keep her decision, but expects the governor will appeal.
And a reminder this morning, getting a COVID-19 test can help everyone, even if you're not feeling symptoms. Free testing is being offered today at the Kern County Fairgrounds from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. You can sign up for an appointment at doineedacovid19test.com. And also today, you can get a free test at Greenfield Family Resource Center on Monitor Street, courtesy of the Kern County Latino COVID-19 Task Force. Adventist Health will also give out free face masks. It's happening from 8 a.m. and it starts at 8 a.m. and there is no appointment needed. Health officials say testing is important because it helps the public keep track of how the virus is spreading. But it can also directly be tied to Kern County's adjusted case rate. That is one of the metrics the state uses to decide which businesses can stay open. If not enough people are tested, the state will raise the case rate, pushing us closer to another lockdown. The task force is holding 2 free testing events over the weekend as well. For a complete schedule, just head to our website, kget.com, and click on the coronavirus button for more.
This morning, the investigation continues after a plane that took off from Bakersfield crashed in Los Angeles. The Cessna aircraft crashed in a Pacoima neighborhood just outside Whiteman Airport. That's in the San Fernando Valley. The plane exploded on impact, setting at least 2 vehicles on fire. Flames nearly reached a home, but firefighters were able to protect the building, and miraculously, no one was injured. 17 News has confirmed the pilot was with the Civil Air Patrol, the nonprofit civilian arm of the U.S. Air Force. The director of operations for the California Wing says the pilot dropped someone off at Meadows Field in Bakersfield, then took off for Los Angeles, but crashed while approaching the runway at Whiteman Airport.
Tragically, during this fiery crash, the solo occupant was determined dead by firefighter paramedics and was beyond any medical help.
The name of the pilot's not been released. We're told he did not live in Bakersfield. The FAA and NTSB are investigating the crash.
The Buena Vista Museum of Natural History and Science is set to reopen its doors tomorrow after shutting down due to the coronavirus pandemic. It's not totally back to normal, though, as the museum is sticking to weekends only for now. Operating hours are Saturday from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. and then Sunday from noon to 4. The museum says masks will be required and social distancing measures will be in effect. The O-Zone hands-on area will also be closed off. Representatives say they hope to expand operations to more than just weekends in the next few weeks.
A local World War II veteran celebrated a major milestone with the community. Martin Medrano celebrated his 102nd birthday yesterday. His family surprised him with a drive-by parade in front of his house in Delano. People from all over the community came out to wish him a happy birthday.
I'm really glad that everybody came up here. Thank you. Thanks to everybody. God bless everybody.
According to his daughter, the city of Delano also declared yesterday Martin Medrano Day. Wow, that's fantastic. He gets his own day.
That's
well, happy
awesome.
birthday, Martin.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
Welcome back to your 17 Business Watch. The shift to online shopping went into overdrive because of the pandemic. Now shoppers are relying on it for the holidays, and pressure is building on companies to deliver. According to a new survey conducted by Locate, 73% of American consumers plan to do most or all of their online shopping for this holiday season. A quarter plan to ship gifts directly from retailers to the recipient. And 88% of consumers are expressing concern about packages arriving late. Retailers are under mounting pressure to make this holiday season a success. Get ready to fight over the armrest again. JetBlue Airways says it will sell all seats on its flight starting early next year on January 8th. It is the latest carrier to cite advanced filtration systems on board as reducing the risk of catching COVID-19 on a flight. Carriers are struggling to drum up revenue and keep costs down as travel demand remains at just 1/3 of last year's levels. That's according to federal data. Southwest last month said it would sell all seats on its flight starting December 1st. Social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook took an aggressive stance during the election to avoid the spread of misinformation. But will it continue? Liz McLaughlin has more.
They've delivered us a clear victory.
Well, after Election Day, tech companies are still struggling to police content on their platforms.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win.
Twitter and Facebook adding a warning label to posts containing baseless allegations of election fraud.
No one expected the president and the Republican Party to dispute the clear results of the election for this long, and the major platforms have had to react to it.
Facebook has shut down some private Facebook groups, including one called Stop the Steal, with more than 300,000 members, for attempting to delegitimize the election process and calling for violence.
Cheaters! Cheaters!
Social networks have been more aggressive this election cycle at removing or restricting posts containing misinformation. Actions that have upset some conservative users.
If you don't like it, go somewhere else. And you are seeing millions of people choose other social media platforms now, alternatives to Twitter like Parler.
Parler, an app that pegs itself as the world's town square, recently jumped to the top of the free download list on Apple's App Store.
Parler is the only social media platform that protects your constitutional right to free speech.
As the social media marketplace gets more competitive, the pressure on mainstream networks is mounting.
It's definitely a very difficult position for them to be in right now.
With disinformation continuing to spread online and no clear answers on how to control it. Liz McLaughlin, NBC News.
Thank you, Kev. 17 News is your local election headquarters, and Election Day became Election Week. It seems like we are on track for an election month. 10 days since Election Day now, NBC calls Arizona for Joe Biden, securing 11 more electoral votes for the president-elect. But for some in Washington, the race is still in limbo, including Bakersfield's own Kevin McCarthy. Tracy Potts has more.
Good morning, Maddie. We still aren't seeing a lot of Republicans acknowledge Joe Biden as the winner, but we are hearing more Republicans tell the Trump administration they need to be cooperating with the Biden team. As NBC News calls Arizona for President-elect Joe Biden overnight, there's growing pressure from Republicans for Biden to get classified intelligence briefings.
I do think they're going to have to work that out in very short order.
Does it strike you as a risk to security at all?
No.
President Trump's closest allies say it's too soon.
He's not president right now. Don't know if he'll be president January 20th. But whoever is, will get the information.
The Biden team insists the lack of cooperation and briefings isn't slowing down the transition.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris doing their jobs, but as time passes, the need to get the full access we are entitled to, and the full access that the American people want us to have, it grows each day.
Biden's been on the phone with congressional leaders pushing for COVID relief.
We're willing to sit down and talk. They haven't wanted to talk. They seem to have stuck to their position.
Hopefully we can get past the impasse we've had now for 4 or 5 months.
As for the election, a coalition of federal agencies is now refuting President Trump's baseless claims of election fraud, calling this the most secure election in American history. The election results aren't certified yet, but the president is already talking about the next election 4 years from now. A person familiar with those talks tells NBC that he's told advisors if Joe Biden is certified as the winner, he'll soon be announcing his candidacy for president again in 2024. I'm Tracy Potts, 17 News.
It's National Adoption Awareness Month, and in the U.S., more than 400,000 children live in foster care, searching for a permanent place to call home. 17's Taylor Schaub is joining us this morning with a look at what happens when you give one of these children a forever home. Taylor?
Well, good morning, Maddie. Safety, security, and a place to call their own. These are just a few of the things that we take for granted. But to a foster child, they can mean everything. Duke Kelsey is a rambunctious little rascal. The toddler runs around with a smile that could light up a room and seemingly no regard for the obstacles in his way. However, this kid's story is anything but carefree.
When he was 9 months old and had about 9 months worth of trauma.
Jill Kelsey and her husband Heath first met Duke after his lengthy stint at Valley Children's Hospital. The then 9-month-old, a victim of repeated beatings by his birth mother's boyfriend. His little body littered with bruises and multiple skull fractures.
I know what that situation's like. I know when it's, okay, when's the next beating coming?
The gut-wrenching scene brought Heath back to his childhood, having been pulled away from his abusive father at the age of 12.
I know the scare of that, and so I don't want that to happen to him. So I'd help them all if I could.
Now, in addition to their 3 biological children, the pair have fostered 9 kids, adopting Duke, his little brother, and one of Jill's middle school students.
And now it's my pleasure and honor to introduce to you the newest member of the family.
They need to know that someone out there still cares, that someone loves them, and that's hard for kids who have come from hard places. A lot of times they don't come in with that kind of background. They've never experienced that kind of family.
In fact, Heath recently decided to write a children's book about his son's life-changing experience, titled Duke and the Dinosaur Family.
The theme of the story is it's okay to be scared if you're a foster or adopted child, and it doesn't matter what the family looks like. Anybody can love you, and children cannot have too many people that love them.
Now a week out from the sentencing hearing of the man that caused irreparable damage to their baby boy, the family is placing a call to action for anyone that can. Give the more than 400,000 kids in the U.S. without a home a place to call their own.
Children need to be loved more than anything, and there's plenty of children out there that need that love. They may be in your home for a short period of time, but they're in your hearts forever.
Now, the Kelsey's book is on Amazon, and it's also available on BarnesandNoble.com. I gave it a quick little read yesterday. It's a really cute story. For more information on this, you can go to our website, kget.com, and click on the hot link icon. In Southwest Bakersfield, Taylor Schaub, 17 News.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.